Story 1. The doctor put an IV in my arm, and before I knew it, I couldn't see anything. I was unconscious. When I woke up, I was floating above a room where everyone seemed really worried about something. But I wasn't interested in that. I was more focused on the fact that I was moving upwards. It was like I was floating through a dark tunnel that felt rough and looked navy-colored. I kept looking down at my feet because I wasn't walking anymore. It took me a moment to realize that I was actually floating up this tunnel. As I looked up, I saw a bright light at the end of the tunnel, and it was getting closer and closer. When I was about 2 feet away from the end, I suddenly started standing instead of floating. Then, I felt an overwhelming feeling of love wash over me. It was like nothing else mattered except this love that I could feel and see everywhere. It was like love was all around me and inside me. I looked beyond the tunnel and saw 2 pairs of feet. One pair was small and the other pair was big. I looked up and couldn't believe my eyes. It was my baby boy who had passed away when he was only 48 days old. He looked about 6 years old with blonde hair and bright blue eyes. He had the biggest smile on his face, and holding his hand was my grandpa, who had passed away when I was 9 years old. Even though he was 66 when he died, he looked so young and full of life in this experience. My grandpa said, "I've been waiting for you for so long," and he motioned for me to come closer. My son said, "Mommy, yes, Mommy, come on." As I walked closer to them, I noticed another pair of feet on the right side. They were all dirty and rough. When I looked up, I saw a man wearing a cream-colored robe that looked a bit ragged. He had tanned skin, a strong jaw and nose, a beard and mustache, and wavy brown hair. His eyes were dark and kind, and he seemed to know a lot. He glanced at me and gave a half smile but didn't say anything. I quickly realized it was Jesus, even though he didn't look like the usual pictures I had seen of him with blue eyes and pale skin. But somehow I just knew it was him. When I realized it, I didn't say anything, but he could tell from my expression and chuckled. My son and grandpa wanted me to join them, but Jesus communicated with me in my mind, saying, "Not yet." I felt sad. Jesus kept repeating a message in my head saying, "You are truly loved. You are so loved." His voice echoed in my mind. Then my son and grandpa started walking away. That's when I noticed the surroundings. The path they were walking on looked like it was made of shiny gold, but it was solid and real because they were walking on it. I saw a tree in the distance with fruits I couldn't recognize. The grass on the sides of the path was incredibly green, even greener than any grass on earth. And far away I could see a wall or a gate with a bright light shining from it. I heard my son saying, "When Mommy comes back," and Jesus turned around smiling at me again. After that, I quickly went back down into my body. When I opened my eyes, I tried to get up, but a nurse told me to stay still. She was using a small black ultrasound machine, trying to figure something out. None of it made sense to me. I really, really wanted to sleep, but the staff just wouldn't let me. They kept asking me questions, and the anesthesiologist said sorry a bunch of times. They even asked if I ever had problems with my kidneys. It was so annoying. At one point, they told me that my husband had been to the operating room a few times. He wanted them to tell me that he was leaving for a bit to pick up our daughter from school, so it must have been around 2 p.m. While I was lying there, I saw my main doctor and 2 other doctors checking all these machines. I was so confused. My doctor explained that she did the surgery and everything went well. But right when she was sewing up the cuts they made, something bad happened. My heart rate dropped and they thought I might die. They had no idea why it happened. They took me out of the operating room and put me in a recovery room at 3:30 p.m. Finally, at 4:30 p.m., my family was allowed to come see me. They were all crying and I had no clue why. Later, I found out that the doctors told them the next 24 hours were uncertain for me. They couldn't explain it, but they needed to watch me closely in case something else went wrong. As different nurses came to check on me every 10 minutes or so, they told me more and more strange things that happened during the surgery. My body temperature dropped to 95 degrees while I was on the table. My blood pressure was so low that I should have been dead. I haven't told many people about what happened to me, but the few I did tell were really moved and believed me. Even my husband cried, and I've only seen him cry once in our 8 years together. I feel like this whole experience has made me a much better person. This story was shared by Sarah S. and happened in 2016.
Story 2. As we were cruising down the dirt road, something crazy caught my eye. Off to the right in the trees, there was a big commotion, and then, out of nowhere, boom! There was a bright explosion around the pickup truck, and the back window shattered into a million pieces. That's all I remember. What happened next was like a crazy dream. I woke up in a strange place, feeling dizzy and confused. I looked around and realized I was standing on a hard surface. I even stomped my feet to make sure it was real. The room I was in felt so solid and enclosed, like it was actually there. As I walked towards a wall of windows, I was greeted by a very tall being. I'm talking like 7 feet tall. They were wearing a long, off-white robe and had long blonde hair and really pale skin that almost seemed to glow. I was so happy and excited, like I was on top of the world. It was a feeling I had never experienced before and haven't felt since. It was like pure joy. Then, out of nowhere, a group of short people came out from a room on my left. It was like they knew me, and I felt this strong connection with them. I couldn't see their faces clearly, but they seemed familiar even though I couldn't remember their names. Then this tall person motioned for me to go towards these big windows. I had no clue what was happening, but I decided to follow their lead. Without saying a word, the person somehow communicated with me in my mind, telling me to watch the window in front of me. It was like watching a huge TV screen. The windows started showing something like a movie. I saw myself riding my motorcycle from above, and I watched the whole ambush happening in slow motion. It was like I was just watching it, not feeling scared or shocked about what was happening to me and my friends. I tried to look around to see the people behind me, but then this big door-like wall slowly opened to my left, and a super bright light started shining from inside. I wanted to get a closer look, but the tall person told me I couldn't go into the light just yet. They begged me to keep watching the big window screen and the ambush that was going on. I felt so content and happy, even though I didn't really understand what was happening to me. As I looked towards the light again, this really tall person told me not to look and started talking to me. They said that one day, when I'm really old, I'll pass into the light. They even said I might live until I'm 97 or 107 years old. They also said that I'll have lots of women in my life, but there will be one special lady who will be my last. She'll have a heart and soul that are pure, and her body will be just right for me. She'll be strong and independent, but she won't know much about the world. She's never really experienced true love before. Even though she's loved someone deeply, she'll feel like something is missing. She'll be younger than me, but that won't matter to either of us. We won't be able to meet for a while because she'll live far away, and it might take months or even years for us to finally see each other face to face. But once we do, we'll both know that we're meant to be together until I go through the door of light. I don't really get how we can meet but not face to face, but I didn't think about it at the time. I wanted to ask the tall person next to me why I couldn't go into the light right then and what the woman's name was. But before I could, the tall person touched my back and suddenly I was back in my body on Earth, like a flash of light. By that time, the army personnel had thought I was dead and put me in a truck with other dead soldiers. But then, I must have done something to show I was alive, because the American Army medic yelled at them, and they took me out of the truck and put me in an ambulance to go to the hospital. I woke up for a few seconds, and an army officer asked me if I wanted to go to a French hospital, or an American hospital. I said I wanted to go to an American hospital, and then I passed out again. I don't think I was in heaven. I'm pretty sure I was on some sort of spaceship, or maybe in a different dimension. All I know is that it was a real place with solid walls and floors. The tall person who talked to me without speaking could have been my guardian angel or an alien, or maybe they're the same thing, but I know they really cared about me and my soul. Now, I have a special relationship with God and those beings who were with me. It's even stronger than before because I went to a Catholic school. I really wanted to go towards this bright light, but I wasn't allowed to, at least not yet. I don't know why I was sent back to Earth or what I'm supposed to do, but someone has been looking out for me my whole life. Just 2 years ago, I survived a helicopter crash in the Vietnam War when everyone else didn't make it. I've also survived 2 plane crashes and 6 car crashes. I have no idea why, but one day I'll find out. And one day I'll meet this amazing woman who I've been told about. I think she has a part of my soul, and she doesn't even know it. When we finally meet, our eyes will connect and we'll be together forever. This story was shared by Dr. Dennis M. and happened in 1973.